Well, let's delve into what drove the markets on the day. Mia Kruger, Portfolio Manager at Kruger Internasionaal, joining us. Mia, thanks so much for joining us today, and congratulations on completing half Ironman. So just talk to us about BHP Billiton. I mean, the stock was up 2.7% on the day, and speaking to an analyst in London earlier, they say that analysts on that end disappointed with the earnings, but it seems that we're not seeing that reflected in the stock price, also up in Australia today.
Yes, I think the production report wasn't what most analysts expected, but it wasn't so disappointing for me, as it could be. Still, we know we've heard over the last couple of weeks that Australia is still the biggest supplier of iron ore to China, which is obviously the biggest consumer of that input metal. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that Western Australian iron ore still, for the 12th consecutive year, produced a record after record, and on the production side there of iron ore for Billiton. Mm-hmm. They've been able to increase their petroleum production, and that is still underpinning their full production for the full year of 2013. And their copper is also in line with Escandodia to still increase around 20% until the end of the year for them for 2013. So all in all, everything's going according to plan. Mm-hmm. This company has been the best diversified miner to be invested in. If you've taken a look and compared it against Anglo American, which is also trading a little bit cheaper now still than Billiton. Billiton's still trading at a fair value, and I think something that you'd be happy to hold in your portfolio. I mean,
just looking at their strategic areas where they're spending capex, they talk about they've got 20 low risk, largely brownfield projects, and you run through that list and they all say basically on track, in line with budget, on track, in line with budget. And as you say, they're really living up to expectations. There's not really any big surprises coming through from the company, but one of the concerns is a write down of assets, alumina assets and nickel assets. Is that a concern for you in the same way that we saw Rio Tinto writing down assets?
Well, I don't think at this stage it is. We know that the expectation for the full year results is going to actually bring that price earnings ratio down a little. So it's nothing that anyone's not expecting. It's all already expected, and it's already reflected in the price. So the price reflected well today. I don't think it is because anyone has taken anything out of this production report as unforeseen. Mm-hmm. So it's nothing to be worried about. But I think everyone kind of knows what's going on in the resource space, especially with the big diversified miners, especially the big guys like Billiton. But Billiton is just one of those companies that always stick to the boring side of the game. They keep on doing what they say they're going to do, and it's not something that's surprising to the upside or to the downside at the moment.
Let's hope it continues like that for the miner. Talking about mining, Barloworld saying mining outside of South Africa has been buoyant, so they talk about a firm order book, but inside South Africa they've come under pressure. So Barloworld, for you, that 5.7 billion rand order book is what they pointed out at the end of December. I mean, was the trading update in line with your expectations for the company?
Well, we all know that Barloworld, there's a couple of questions around how they're actually going to increase their earnings going forward, what their plans are. So their plans are, and we've seen that their order book has increased by 7.5%, like you mentioned. It's not extraordinary. They're still, trading cheaper than Imperial, but Imperial has been the better stock to have in your portfolio. If you look at a couple of things, they've also increased their car rentals in South Africa. Unfortunately, low price inflation there, so because they have higher margins, or they still have the same margins, but they've had higher numbers there. So it's a difficult space for Barloworld to be in at the moment. Mm-hmm. I don't think something that's shooting the light out, and there's still so much unclarity, or not enough clarity about this company for me to be a sure buy.
Yeah, let's switch focus completely to the retail space, because Click's coming out with their numbers today and pointing out the performance coming through from music, and it really seems like David Neal is trying to show that they're committed to this business and saying that they're selling more headphones to compensate for the loss in selling of their core product CDs. I mean, are there questions? Do they need to sell this business, or does it make a difference?
Well, this is such a small thing for them, and I don't know why they're so concerned about it, why they place so much emphasis on Musica. Mm-hmm. I'd be much more focused on their pharmaceutical selling, which has done very well for the company. I mean, we saw an increase there of around 20%, and that has actually been a driver lower for Clicks, and Clicks has performed well. If we look at all the different retailers, comparing it to Clicks, Clicks is one of the cheaper ones. They've performed well. They've performed, if you look at the total return values, they've performed quite in line with, you know, the ShopRites and the Woolworths of the sorts, but just a little below over the longer term of around 5 years. Nothing much. I mean, I'd be happy to earn 33% or 38% a year for around 5 years. So I think it's still a solid company. They're focusing on the right areas. I actually don't know why there's so much focus at the moment on Musica.
Yeah, and Body Shop also part of that portfolio, strong sales coming through there, but it's really the Clicks unit that delivers and contributes to the bottom line. Overall, what is your sense as to the market direction right now? I mean, is it easy to be in the markets now? I mean, where are the sure buys at this point?
Well, we've seen that strong rally since the first day of the market open this year, and you know, there is a bit of space if you look on the technical side for the market to retreat slightly. So I wouldn't be. I'd actually place some probability on the market retreating slightly. I'll kind of wait it out to see whether we can get some more opportunities. Obviously, there are still a couple of stocks that you can get into, good companies. Sasol isn't trading overly expensive. We've seen Bulletin coming out with a solid dish production report, and they're also trading at a fair value. So there are still companies that you can get into at reasonable prices. It's not shooting the lights out. You can't just go out and buy any company anymore. You have to do your homework, and I think the best is to hope for a little bit of a pullback.
One company that is an interesting one to look out for in terms of management changes potentially, and there are a few companies that of course he sits on a board of, is MTN, because Cyril Ramaphosa coming out saying that stepping down from Lonmin, stepping down from Mondi today, but still uncertainty around MTN chairman there. Is that a big issue for you? Would that be an issue as a shareholder?
Well, I don't think as a shareholder it's such a big issue for me at the moment. I'm happy to have Cyril there. I think as his political involvement increases, he'll probably have to look at that due to conflict of interest. It is more difficult for him to step down from the chairman position that he has at MTN, because there's a contingency plan needed there. They have to announce that there's a bit more to do there than stepping down from Lonmin and Mondi that he's done just now. This might be an indication that he is planning, like we've all known.
Well, one would assume that if he has reviewed his business interest in the likes of Mondi,
yes,
that the same would follow through for other companies, even Bidvest on the list.
That's right. You know, there's a couple of companies where he sits on the boards, and I think those all will come into review as he takes on more political responsibility.